Hey y'all, it's Scott again from Art of this Genre, and today we are doing U2, not the band, but The Danger of Dunwater, done by Don Turnbull, back in 1981-82 by TSR UK. This is the second part of our series on the U series. Both of the first two modules so far for me, as I've gone through my notes, have really just taken one of these notes sessions. So we're not going to do a second part of this one because I think this one, again, is pretty self-explanatory once you get into it. I'm going to grab my notes here, and I'm going to take you through what I found in this adventure. Again, this is a second mystery adventure, just as U1, The Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, that's a tongue twister, was also a mystery module. Turnbull, he buries the lead. If you want to know what's going on in this adventure, go to the back and find out his plot summary, then go back and read this module again from the beginning if you're looking to run it. This whole module is about a collective tribe of lizardmen who were displaced by Sahagin. And they moved from their old lair to a new lair, which is actually an old lair, that they'd abandoned long ago because it was too close to humanity, namely Saltmarsh, where these adventures take place. Again, Turnbull goes through telling you to continue to flesh out the town of Saltmarsh, like I said in the first one, U1. How you would go about doing that, I'm not going to go through it again, but this basically takes you through the characters and their interactions with the lizardmen who Saltmarsh and the characters at this point feel like are getting armed by smugglers with more advanced weaponry than they normally have to lay siege to Saltmarsh and destroy humanity who's too close to their new home. That is not really the case here. It is actually another mystery that you find out that the lizardmen are trying to form an alliance between four other races, or three races overall, I guess. The lizardmen are one of them. The Lokatha are another one of them, and mermen. And the last one, Turnbull refers to as the Coalinth. I went through a bunch of stuff trying to find the Coalinth, like, what is this? Like, it's supposed to be so well known. And then finally I went Koa. He must be talking about the Koatoa, which of course are in Fiend Folio, done by TSR UK. So that makes sense. I don't know why he called them the Coalinth in here. I didn't find any other references to it, but if you're doing this module, know that he's talking about the Koatoa, who are neutral evil. Aquatic creatures. In this particular module, they are going to not join the alliance, but their presence has caused the lizardmen to not invite the aquatic elves, which again, if you're dealing with U1 and you have your NPC, Oceanus, the aquatic elf, who I really wish you would rename. That is why he and his tribe had no knowledge of this alliance, because the Koatoa hate the aquatic elves. They're blood feud enemies, and so the lizardmen could only invite one, and they chose the Koatoa, who they thought were more powerful. So that is this alliance. That's why everything is being set up here. However, the characters do not know this. So they are sent by the town council to investigate, take care of, deal with this menace, at least scout it to the very, very basics, and you're actually paid to do so, to go out and take care of these lizardmen in one way or another. Now, again, Turnbull absolutely, positively hates murder hobos. So he is trying to make sure that you are not going to go that route, even though that's what this is set up as. It's only a single dungeon, and you will be going through it as the characters. But to get there, there are two ways. One of them is by boat, which is the easy way. That'll just kind of take you down to the Dunwater, which is the river, and from there you're basically into the encampment in the underground dungeon. However, I would suggest as players or as a DM, to take your players through the marshes. And I'll tell you the reason why. There's in here, they've described a bullywug ambush, and that it can be very important to the adventure, not only because it's kind of like if you remember The Hobbit, the trolls attack the party and then they store treasure and items that they find from the trolls before they go on the quest. This is kind of one of those opportunities because it becomes very important at the end of the adventure, as you find out, to have other sources of treasure. And on top of that, the Bullywogs have a Helm of Underwater action with the activating word Styx. Maybe he was a fan of the band back in 1981, a little Tommy Shaw fan. Anyway, that could be hugely important in U3, the final enemy, which is the last of this series. So keep that in mind. I was just going through the marsh and dealing with a couple of things there. They have some good wandering monsters that you could get in, and it gives you a little familiarity with the marsh that you might deal with at the later stages of the adventure, and I'll get into that as well. Also, if you're dealing with U1 and the aquatic elf, I'm not even going to tell you his name again, I can't mention it, but he would be great to have in the party as well because you're dealing with a lot of different aquatic races and he should be able to communicate with them all. So he could work as a type of agent between the party, the human party, and Saltmarsh and the alliance that's going on here as well. Basically, what's going on in the adventure is you go in to the Lizardmen encampment, and you're basically just murder hoboing your way through because they don't want you there. You're going to find different areas to attack. You're going to be getting experience, getting items, getting treasure, moving through, trying to take care of these Lizardmen, only to find out eventually, hopefully, that you'll get to the emissary pools that have mermen in them, or have the Lokatha in them, and from there they can tell you maybe about the alliance once they have acquired the knowledge that you don't like the Sahagin either. So once you do that, I would rush in with the remaining members of the Lizardmen because then they can take you to the chief. You can take a look at the chief here. This is fantastic artwork, and I'm just going to talk to you about it just for a second because this is Timothy Truman. Timothy Truman was brought in just about this time period. Same with Jeff Easley and same with Jim Holloway and the rest of the people that were involved in that early transition TSR period between 81 and 82 when Jeff D and Bill Willingham and Jim Rosloff stopped really doing artwork for TSR, and then you got this new breed. But Truman has such a fantastic style. There's so many great pieces of Truman's that are in this module. So I suggest just appreciate them if you can. I'll put a couple more in. But anyway, that we're back to the Lizardman chief. You'll be taken before the chief, and the chief will say, we'll talk about the alliance, seeming alliance that the members of Saltmarsh would want too, because they would want to get rid of the threat of the Sahagin as well. However, to get this alliance, this is where Turnbull really gives the bolt to all the players, especially murder hobos if that's what they're out to get. And that is to say, sorry, every last bit of treasure that you have needs to be returned to the Lizardman that you just fought so hard in this adventure to get. So that's going to be an unfortunate factor. It does give you a couple options to kind of assuage that with the characters. One of the options would be every bit of treasure that you collected. Obviously, you get experience points for that in AD&D. So you take that treasure, and then every bit you give back, you get that treasure again, the value of it. So it kind of gives you 2 times treasure for it, even though you're not taking the treasure home. The good vibes that you get for giving it back allow you to get double experience points for treasure. Or if you're dealing with 5e or something like that, you can get just basic experience for giving it back for every gold, which you don't get anymore in the 5th edition or higher. So anyway, that is kind of the way Turnbull took care of it. However, every single one of the Lizardmen that you killed along the way, the chief demands weir gold payment. Which is to say it's like 10 gold pieces or something like that per Lizardman killed. If you killed a bunch of them, that's going to be a real pain in the butt. So not only do you have to give everything back, except for items that were, there was just a few items that you can find that were not part of the lizardmen treasure, so they don't want those. But otherwise, you're going to have to pay even more. That is really the biggest problem, but it also provides a great opportunity. That being the end game little piece in the adventure, which details that the lizard men are having problems with a giant crocodile. What's more fun in a huge swamp than a giant crocodile? This is a swamp that you've also could have passed through, so you kind of know it. You can go back into it, find the crocodile, deal with the crocodile, and that will repay all the weir gold payments demanded by the lizard man king, and therefore you can be emissaries and start your mission toward U3, the final enemy. When you deal with that crocodile, it's kind of neat. The reason that the lizardmen haven't been able to deal with it or talk to it is because it's currently being controlled by an oriental dragon. Oriental dragons are something that you can find in the Fiend Folio, and probably one of the reasons is they were put in here, as well as the Koatoa, who are coalinth in this for some reason. This is a, let me check it, I think he's a pan lung dragon, and there's a good picture of it here. And this dragon will give you good treasure, good experience, as well as the crocodile. So it's a neat thing to kind of take place at the end of the adventure. And then once you've taken care of that, you can go back. The lizardmen will send agents with you back to Salt Marsh. You can carry your stuff back. Collect the gold that you may have found in the marsh in the first place with the bullywugs. Still feel like you've gotten good treasure, but also doubled up your experience points. So it's kind of a neat way to do it, as long as the characters are willing to do so. There's even like a caveat that if you are an evil character or aligned in that way, that you can get 1.5 experience points for every gold piece that you return, just to make sure that the alliance takes place. So again, I think Turnbull did a good job on this adventure, taking what would be a standard dungeon crawl and having some different wrinkles to it, because if you go too far into it, killing too many things or too many of the either the chief or the shaman or the officers or something like that, the entire alliance can just fall apart, and therefore you got a very difficult way to get into U3 dealing with the Sahagin. So you've kind of got to mitigate that as you're moving through it. Nevertheless, good adventure. I like the way it's set up. I think that the dungeon has a good flow to it and gets you kind of where you need to go, and it's really just a one-point dungeon. So you just go in one floor, take care of it, and you're done. You're going to get into a much bigger one when you deal with U3. But anyway, that is really all that I've got, I think, about U2, The Danger at Dunwater. Straightforward adventure, other than the wrinkles of finding out the mysteries and not killing too many lizard men. So I hope you enjoyed this. And again, we're going to continue this series with U3, The Danger at Dunwater, hopefully right after this one. And then we'll have them all done. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to Art of the Genre again, and please subscribe and hit the notifications. That always helps us out. And when we complete this series, we're going to do another giveaway of some of our product here at Art of the Genre. So please take a look as well at U3 when it comes out afterwards. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you later. Good gaming.